Yo YouTube! This is my video for Thursday the 21st of March, and for full disclosure that was about 4 days ago. It's now Monday 25th in the morning. I will tell you about Thursday in this video, and I already know that it's going to be called my unconventional working day, or words to that effect. And I shall describe my working day on Thursday to try and justify why I think it's unconventional. So, let's get started. On the Wednesday, I had booked in a job for the following morning, and it was going from Boston to Rugby. I'd secured a really good paying job for 95 loaded miles for a small van at £100, and it was picking up at 10 o'clock, and I thought that'd be a good job to do. It's a bit late to start, but I'm okay with that. I don't mind late starts generally, and it was not very far from where I live. It's a pick up. It was a bird in the a job in the hand. I was thinking of the phrase a bird in the hand's worth two in the bush. Anyway, this job was secured. It was in the bag, and it meant that I had going to a decent area, Rugby, for work sort of midday. So I was happy with that. Then I got a second opportunity, this is on Wednesday, for another job in the morning, which was going from Grantham area to Lincoln area. And it was actually a job I'd done before, and I knew that it ended up pretty much halfway between Boston and Lincoln. So, and the time of the pickup was 7:30. So I've had plenty of time, providing I got there in time, to get this job done and to be across in Boston for 10 o'clock. So I put a bid on that second job for Thursday morning, and it was for a short wheelbase van. I initially put a bid on at £60. Oops, red light. I'll go now. Initially put a bid on for £60, and then, because the mileage was 37 loaded miles, but I was about 34 miles away from the pickup from my home. So combining those 2 miles together, that's like 70 miles roughly in total. So for me, £60 would be worth it. Anyway, I got a call, and the guy asked me to do it for cheaper, and because I've done the job before and I just thought it's a good start today, let's do it for cheaper. So I offered it for £50, 50, which I thought was a fair compromise for both sides, and he accepted that as being fine. So I had a 7:30 pickup on the Thursday morning, and I knew where I was going to, because I'd done the job before, like I said. So I left my house at 6:45 on Thursday morning, and I arrived 7:35, I would say, and got loaded up, and then made my way to the drop-off location. So as I said, my dead miles, as it were, so my miles to get to the job were 34, my miles on the job was 37. And I went, I think, did I get fuel? I'm trying to work out if I got fuel at this point. No. Went straight across and did the drop-off, and arrived at about 7:50. No, sorry. I left, we were loaded at 7:50, and I arrived on site to be offloaded at 8:45. So there was someone there to help, so there was quite a few guys, about 3 in total, so we all kind of got the stuff off my van quite quickly, and then I made my way immediately across to my pickup in Boston. And was about half an hour, 16 miles to get there, and I arrived at 9:30, which is half an hour early, but because it was a residential address, I just went and asked if the guy was ready, and he was. I was taking 2 items from a residential address in Boston to a care home in or near Rugby. So again, my van was quite empty. So I made my way to Rugby, and I arrived at the care home at 12:10. I utilised their toilet facilities, which was really helpful, and then I made my way off their site because it's very small parking and very crowded. And there's parts on the road outside. It's a little village near Rugby. Parked on the road and looked for jobs. So it would have been about 12:10, 12:15, but I was parked up and looking for jobs. And there was quite a few opportunities to win work. I was in quite a good area, but there were a lot of drivers around. So I did get a call on one of my bids at 1:07, and that call was to do a pickup from, I'm trying to think where it was. I think it might be Rugby itself, or let's say Rugby because it was very close. It was 6 miles away from where I was, and I was taking items to Chester, and it was going to a large aerospace place which I've been to before, so I kind of vaguely knew the process for offloading. And I looked at the mileage for the job. It was 117 miles loaded, and as I said, I was 6 miles away. And so with my bid, I put in, I was for a small van, so I worked out, because I'd been about an hour by this point bidding on work, I thought I didn't want to overbid, and I'd be putting on prices that were reasonably good and not getting them. So I was beginning to feel I was getting stuck again in a good area for work because I'd overbidding. Not that I'm bidding unfairly, I'm just not getting the work. So I thought I'd try and go cheaper just to get a job and get out the area and get moving. So I worked out what 75p a mile was for a small van job at 117 miles. It was something like £87 roughly. So I rounded it down to 85, and I quickly put in my bid and then moved on to doing other bids. And then I won the job. And this was probably about 5 minutes, no, maybe about 2 minutes later. So I was putting in about 20 bids by this point over that hour, and I got this phone quickly, and I picked it up, and I think she asked me some very specific questions. So she asked me, where am I now? So I put in my bid 15 minutes away from, I'm going to say Rugby. It doesn't quite feel like it's the right place, but anyway, it doesn't really matter where it was. And I said I was coming from the south, and where I was. I was sort of explaining where I was, and then she said, "Oh, you empty?" I said, "Yes, I was." And then she said something like, I don't know. So there's another question that I just thought was, I don't know. She said she would put it on the system. I asked her for the postcode. I put the postcode into the sat nav. It was exactly 15 minutes from where I was, so I told her that, and then I said I'd make my way there while she put it on the system. And a strange thing happened. My original bid stayed in place, but I was given a brand new job. So I had my bid job, and then I was given, had accepted. I think I had to accept the job that she gave me as a separate sort of posting. And usually you get the thing you bid on, this thing that gets updated on the system, it doesn't exist. But she updated this second job, as it were. All the details were the same, except the mileage was something like 285 miles. And I thought, that's weird. Have I really misjudged this? Have I forgot something? Because so I looked at the map, and actually there was for some reason on the map, there was the map showed a drop in Southampton, but not on the notes. So it wasn't actually correct. It was definitely going just from where I was, one drop to Chester. But for some reason, I think, I'm going to guess, because of the questioning that I got, that the lady was new doing the job. I just made a mistake. So I just sort of, I just went with it. But then this is the point at which I realised I'd made a mistake. And somehow, between me transferring from my calculator £85 in my head, so I worked out on the calculator on my phone what 75 pence over 117 miles is. It was 87 odd pounds. So I worked out it's 85 pounds I was going to bid. By the time I put it in, I'd somehow convert that in my head to 75 pounds. I'd actually bid 75 pounds for this job, and that's when I realised. And I got so frustrated with myself, because I thought, no wonder they gave you a job really quickly. That's really cheap for this job. But I thought, I can't not do it to that price. It's my mistake. I'm going to have to just suck it up and do it. And I basically lost out on £10. Now, who's to say I might not have got the job at £85? I think it's a fair price, but I got the job at £75 in the end, which is a ridiculous, in my mind, ridiculous price for it. I wasn't prepared to ring her and say I made a mistake, can you please give me more money? So I just have to do it, get it done quickly, get over with, and then get on with the day. And then when I looked at my time, I was due to get to Chester at about 4:30, but that was with no traffic delays, and I was leaving about 1:45. So it was a good 2 3/4 hour journey, and over that amount of time, there's bound to be delays in my experience. So I noticed that the note said closes at 4 o'clock. So I got myself going on the road, got myself on the route towards Chester, which involved the M6 quite quickly. And then I called so I realised that was going to be about 4:30. No, it's about 4:20. No, sorry, wrong. Right. It was about 4:15 when I left. But when I got to the M6, it became 4:20, and I thought this is going to be delayed. So I called the shipper and I said, "What time do they close? Because I'm likely not to be there till the very earliest 4:30." And so she said she'd email the client and tell them that I'll be there at 4:30. So that was sorted. I made my way, and then the M6 got busier and busier and busier, and my time crept up from 4:15, instead of 4:20, then 4:30. So in the end, by the time I got to the site, it was 1:45, and I just hoped they'd still be open. And I thought, well, that quarter of an hour isn't going to make a big difference. If they're going to be about 4:30, they'll be open at I left the pickup at 1:45, and I arrived at 4:45 in the end. In the end, it was a 3-hour journey, but it should have been a 2.5-hour journey, and that's because of the traffic. I didn't stop at any point. So, as usual, the guys on the shooting gate were really helpful and really friendly, and I made my way to the yard, and I was the only one there. I got offloaded really quickly, and a quick chat with the forklift driver about the process, because I've been there once before and I was in a queue and I didn't really know what to do, and he told me to go to the transport office and let them know that I'd been offloaded, so they knew, even though he'd just done my job, taken the pallet off. So I went and did that, came into my van, and then went off site. So it wasn't too bad in the end, but it was just about 5 o'clock until I was off site. I had to park up somewhere. So I looked now at the feed, and there wasn't much going on. I looked at what would it be. Oh, so the other thing to bear in mind, I wasn't going to work the following day, so I knew that I was not working on Friday, so I wanted to get home that night. So I worked out, if I just dead miled it back from Chester to home, what would be my earnings, because it's now just about gone 5 o'clock and there wasn't really any work available in Chester, and it worked out to be something like £158 after fuel, and I was really disappointed with that. I thought that's not a good day's work, bearing in mind I started the day off with 2 jobs booked in. Now I've just achieved quite a low amount of money for that if I just did my home. So I started going home looking for jobs, and then a job came up, and it was quite an interesting one, because I often find that around the northwest after hours there's quite a lot of work. I'm never usually in a position to get it. On this occasion I was. This was a job going from Runcorn to the Gloucester area. It was GL postcode, and it's for a small van. The pickup time was 6 o'clock, and I got the call. Sorry, I bid on it at 5 o'clock. So I arrived outside the depot. It's going from Runcorn to GL. I was about 25 minutes away from pickup. It was 21 miles to the pickup point, and the loaded miles was 151. So I quickly put a bid on of £100, because I thought £100 would be a competitive bid, and it also might just make my day a bit more passable, having a bit more money. I got a call pretty quickly at 5:05. I was given that job, and I was picking up, as I said, from Runcorn, and I got a job. So I had a job which paid me a decent amount of money. The only issue really is it took me no closer to home. So my home journey from Chester was about 3.25 hours, and the journey I was about to do was about 3 hours. No, maybe about 2.5 hours. And when I finished up in the Gloucester area, it was actually Tetbury I went to. It's a residential address in Tetbury. And by the time I got there, I was basically the same distance from home as I was when I was in Runcorn, or in Chester, sorry. So I made my way down the M6, M5 to the GL postcode, Tetbury, and was offloaded at 8:30 with a single box to a residential address. I was then quite hungry, so I got myself some fish and chips, got myself some fuel, and then made my way home. It's 125 miles, and it's about 3 hours. And I got home just about midnight, just after midnight. So that was my Thursday. Now, the reason why it's unconventional is that I made decisions in that day that most people wouldn't make. Most people wouldn't have taken the job to Chester if it's like the opposite side of the country to where they live, because that would have got me to Chester about, well, I was hoping about 4:30, but I was hoping by the time I was offloaded I'd be ready for a job at 4:30, but the traffic just made that impossible. So in the end it was 5 o'clock, and that meant that I'd missed bidding on jobs. But even so, most people wouldn't go to the opposite end of the country for a 4:30 drop off. Even less people would take a job 3 hours after 5 o'clock, going nowhere nearer their home when they had to be home. Now those decisions, I'm happy with them. I had a good day on Thursday. I enjoyed my day. I earned a decent amount of money, which I'll tell you about in a moment. and I got home by the end of the day, and I enjoyed my work, and I felt that I was satisfied. The only issue I would say is that the last probably 45 minutes I was quite tired. It's probably about an hour too long to be really, really comfortable the day. But other than that, decisions I made, I stand by them because they're right for me. I like this job. I say I love this job. I like working. It defines who I am. I'm going to slightly go on a small tangent here because I remembered it. Because I think my audience is pretty much my age, maybe a bit older, and male. And I wonder whether the thing I'm about to say would resonate with most of these people. As a 50-something-year-old man, I actually enjoy being able to work for a living. I feel that part of my role on this planet is to go out, earn money, to provide that for people that I love and for myself. And although my sort of family has not stayed together as a single unit, we are separated, and we've all moved on in our lives. It doesn't change who I am as a person. That I'm proud to be someone who works for a living, who provides for their own resources. You know, I get help from. I've had help in the past from people, and I'm not ashamed of that. And I help other people, and I'm not ashamed of that. And I'm not overly proud of it. It's just who I am. I'm not unique to people, but I'm just trying to say that I think that there's a generation of men, maybe all men, I don't know, but I speak for my generation of men, and sometimes I think we get judged for working too hard, or for focusing too much on work, or for neglecting family, and there is some truth to that. But also we've got to realise that is what we do. We go out and we work, we earn money. And I'm not saying that women can't do that or shouldn't do that. And I'm not saying that all men should do that. I'm just saying that I am someone that likes to go out and earn my own money. I feel it gives me value, gives me a purpose in life, and I enjoy it. And for me, being a worker is part of who I am. And I think I want to just recognise that. Because there are some people who will be retired, either early or at the right time, who will miss being workers. And there'll be people who can't work because of health issues who will miss being workers. And there'll be people who are working now that actually might get some grief for doing it, but actually they want to because it's like me, it's who they are. So I know it came to mind that you don't often hear people. Well, I don't often hear people defending, in inverted commas, men for doing work, and it's not meant to be against anybody. I'm just literally saying this is what I'm about, and I'm for that for myself. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. The bottom line is, being someone who works is part of who I am, and it will never be not part of who I am. Even if I can't work, I'll always want to be someone who's productive. And there's nothing wrong in that. Just maybe sometimes getting the balance right is the difficult thing. Right, stats time. So for Thursday, I did fill up with fuel, so I got a new average fuel price. It's 14.71 pence per mile. On that day, I drove 639 miles, obviously a very long day. A satisfying but long day. I worked for 17 hours and 10 minutes. and in total I earned gross £325. That was the £50 I did from, I'm going to say Grantham to Lincoln, but it was outside of Grantham, it's outside of Lincoln. Then the £100 from Boston to Rugby, or a village outside Rugby. The £75 I mistakenly bid rather than £85, going from, let's say, Rugby to Chester. I can't remember where it was from. I usually write these down, but I didn't on this occasion. And then finally the £100 I got going from Runcorn to Tetbury. And I spent on that day £94 on fuel, which meant that after fuel costs were taken into account, I earned £233. So now my weekly summary for last week in terms of my stats. I worked a total of 4 days in the end. I drove 1,713 miles. I worked for 49 hours in total. My gross earnings were £1,152, 1152. I spent £254 on fuel, 254, and I therefore earned after fuel a net amount of £898 for those 4 days, 898. My average pence earned per mile driven for that week was 52.42 pence after removing the fuel costs. So not great, and that is a figure I want to do better at. My average amount earned after fuel per day was £224.50. And then for those of you that care about this figure, after I removed my business costs for the week, I earned £11.80 per hour. So, final little thoughts about how things are. I feel that the number of jobs available on 6 is slowly improving. It's just better opportunities to earn money. I need to try and up my pence per mile earned rate, something more like 60 to 70p a mile. Ideally 70, but let's try and build up over time. And the way to do that is to do less dead miles. But if it means, if less dead miles means I earn less money in total, then I'm not going to do that. And I need to try and up a bit what I'm earning. I now need to basically go back to my target of 250 after fuel per day on average, and I think that's possible now. I haven't got anything booked in for this week with my old shipper. That may just have been a one-off. So I'm just working on the CX this week, and we'll see if I can reach my targets. I'm due, I think, to work every day. I can't think of anything I'm not doing this week. I think it's Easter, isn't it? So it may be that Good Friday means that there is no work available. I think I might be available on Friday, I might not. So let's assume it's a 4-day week because of Easter. And my van's going for a service and a new cam belt after Easter now. I was going to do it on Friday, but it got changed. So I've got 4 days of work and then a bit of time off over Easter. So today I can tramp out. Oh no, I'll talk about today's video. Right. So Thursday's video, that's it now. If you're one of those amazingly good shippers or drivers that are professional and fair and respectful and look after each other, I hope you do really well this year. Thank you for listening to my video, and I'll see you on the next one. Farewell, friends.